When I bought my ranch, I thought I was buying peace. Real, earned peace. 20 acres of rolling grass, a solid gate, and no nosy neighbors breathing down my neck about where I parked my truck or how long my grass was. That was supposed to be freedom. But somehow, even miles away from any suburban HOA, trouble still found me. Before we dive in, comment which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels. It all started with a letter, a slick white envelope with an embossed seal that read, Ravenwood Property Management Association. Sounded official enough, but I knew for a fact there was no HOA jurisdiction anywhere near my land. The letter claimed I was in violation for putting up a new fence that obstructed community patrol visibility. It even demanded I schedule an inspection with the HOA Enforcement Division. I laughed when I read it. My wife, however, didn't. They have our address, Michael. How did they even get that? She asked. That's when I realized someone had been here. 2 days later, I got my answer. A white truck rolled up the dirt road, dust cloud behind it, with HOA Compliance Division stenciled down the side. A man stepped out wearing tactical pants, a vest, and a shiny metal badge that read HOA Cop. Morning, he said, resting a hand near his hip. You Michael Reeves? I nodded slowly. Depends who's asking. Sergeant Dale, Ravenwood HOA Enforcement. You received our notice? Yeah, I said, folding my arms, and I ignored it because I don't live under any HOA. He gave a tight smile, the kind that doesn't reach the eyes. That's not up for debate anymore. The Ravenwood Association recently expanded jurisdictional boundaries. Your ranch now falls within our perimeter. I almost laughed in his face. You're trespassing, I told him flatly. This is private land. You can take your fake badge and leave before I call the sheriff. That wiped the smirk off his face for a moment, but he didn't back down. Non-compliance can lead to fines, he said, holding out a citation pad. You'll need to provide property access for inspection, including all gates and storage buildings. Refusal will be documented. I took a step closer. You step past that fence, and it'll be documented as criminal trespass under Texas Penal Code 30.05. You're not law enforcement, and pretending to be is a felony. Now get off my land. He stared me down, then slowly tucked his pad away. You're making a mistake, Mr. Reeves. Folks who don't cooperate with the HOA tend to regret it. I'll be back, and I'll have authority next time. He turned and drove off, dust swirling behind him. My wife came out, eyes wide. Who was that? Someone pretending to be something he's not, I said. But he'll be back. That night, I set up motion cameras at the gate and double-checked the locks. The fake HOA cop had made one thing clear. This wasn't about property lines anymore. It was about control. And the next time he came back, I'd be ready. The next Saturday, the sun was high and the air dry. Perfect for fence work. I was out by the barn tightening the wire when I heard my wife shouting from the porch. Her voice wasn't the usual lunch is ready tone. It was sharp, panicked. I dropped my gloves and ran. 2 men were standing inside my property line, boots sinking into my grass. They jumped the fence right under a bright red sign that read, Private Property. Trespassers keep out. One wore a black vest with HOA cop stenciled across it. The other had a fake-looking badge clipped to his belt and a holstered sidearm that looked way too real. Step back, I shouted, hand on my own hip. This is private land. The taller one, a clean-shaven guy with mirrored sunglasses, smirked. We told you last week, Mr. Michael, you're in violation of HOA Regulation 9B, unauthorized fencing and obstruction of patrol visibility. I could hardly believe the words. This isn't your neighborhood, and you're not real cops, I said. You're trespassing, and under Texas Penal Code 30.05, that's a criminal offense. My wife grabbed our 2 kids and backed into the house, locking the door. The shorter man, probably the talker's muscle, sneered and muttered, Looks like someone needs to learn how enforcement works. I stepped forward, voice low and calm. You've got 10 seconds to get back over that fence before I call the sheriff. That's when the taller one spat at the dirt and growled, We don't answer to your sheriff. We answer to the HOA president. Then he pointed toward the porch, toward my wife, and said, Maybe she needs to understand we don't bluff. My heart stopped cold. Don't you dare take another step. He smirked again and started walking toward the house, hand near his holster. That was it. The line had been crossed. I drew my revolver, cocked it, and shouted, Last warning, leave my property. They didn't. The taller man turned fast, reaching for his weapon, and instinct took over. 1 shot to the chest, 1 to the arm. He dropped instantly, his fake badge clattering against the dirt. The other man froze, staring at me, then at his partner, bleeding on the ground. Drop it and leave, I roared. He did. He threw his fake ID down, stumbled backward over the fence, and sprinted to their white truck parked on the road. Tires screamed, gravel flew, and then there was silence. My wife came out, shaking, kids clinging to her legs. I took a breath and dialed 911. My voice was steady, but my pulse hammered in my ears. This is Michael Reeves, I said. I've got a man down on my property, armed trespasser, claiming to be HOA enforcement. Send deputies. Now. Sirens echoed across the valley minutes later. I holstered my gun and waited by the fence, ready to explain everything. If you're enjoying this HOA story so far, like and subscribe, because the story is only going to get better. The sheriff's cruisers arrived within 15 minutes. Lights flashing, gravel flying. Deputies moved fast, weapons drawn, ordering me to set my revolver down. I complied instantly. My wife was crying softly behind me, clutching our kids. Once they cleared the scene and saw the man lying there, wounded but alive, their tone changed. Paramedics rushed in, stabilizing him. The bullet had gone clean through his upper chest and out the back. Serious, but not fatal. The other wound on his arm was bleeding heavily, but they managed to wrap it. As they loaded him onto the stretcher, the sheriff, a broad man with a weathered face, turned to me. "Tell me everything, Michael." I told him exactly what happened, from the first letter to the moment they crossed my fence. He listened quietly, taking notes. "You say they called themselves HOA enforcement?" he asked. "Yeah. Fake badges, fake vests, and they threatened my wife and kids," I said. The sheriff sighed. "You did what any man would do protecting his family. We'll verify everything." A few hours later at the hospital, the wounded man, who identified himself as Eli Ward, began to talk. The sheriff called me down to the station to hear it myself. Eli looked pale, weak, his arm in a sling, but the arrogance from before was gone. "It wasn't supposed to go that far," he said, staring down. "The HOA president, a woman named Linda Graves, told us to scare you, said you were refusing to pay community dues. She said you didn't respect authority and she wanted to make an example out of you." "Scare me?" I asked. "By threatening my wife and kids?" He swallowed hard. "She said you'd fold once we showed up in gear, told us to act like police, said if we got caught, she'd handle it. The other guy, Nate Collins, was her nephew. He's hiding out at her place on West Fork Road." The sheriff nodded grimly. "That's all we needed." Within an hour, deputies raided Linda's property. They found Nate's truck in her garage, same white HOA compliance decals, same fake badge set, and a box of printed violation notices, identical to the one I'd received. Both were arrested on the spot. By the next morning, the DA filed charges. Eli Ward, criminal trespass, aggravated assault, and impersonating a peace officer. Nate Collins, aiding and abetting, trespass, and making terroristic threats. Linda Graves, conspiracy, solicitation to commit assault, and fraud. Eli took a plea deal, 5 years for cooperation. Nate got 8. Linda, she was hit hardest. 10 years in state prison and over $45,000 in fines for orchestrating it all. When the verdict came in, I stood outside the courthouse, the wind cutting through my jacket, and I finally breathed easy. No more fake cops, no more threats, just peace, the kind I'd bought this ranch for in the first place. And as the sheriff shook my hand, he said, "You did what you had to, Michael. You stood your ground, and the law stood with you." What do you think, folks? Did the fake HOA cop get what he deserved? What would you have done if someone threatened your family on your own land? The end.